Hello, and welcome to a very sculptural episode of the Drywall Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Harmon. With us today, Jason Griffin. Jason has a phenomenal ability of creating three-dimensional drywall art sculptures that come to life and actually lift off of the wall. We discuss various aspects of how he uses quick-setting joint compound to create these three-dimensional works of art. It looks
That's
so
where
cool.
I was saying, I wanted to see how far we could push this. Like, how far can we go? I've seen a lot of people do art stuff with the mud, and they're fascinating. They're very, very good.
Yeah.
But rarely does it come off the wall. And that's what I want to create. You know what I mean? How far can we go with this?
Jason and I connect on many different levels with drywall and fresco harmony and artwork, and genuinely enjoy a fantastic conversation together. The Drywall Podcast is brought to you today by Fresco Harmony, making walls better since 2004. If you'd like information about Fresco Harmony, the Drywall Podcast, or anything, you can email me at info@frescoharmony.com. For now, though, let's get into some art talk with Jason Griffin, the 20th podcast on the Drywall Podcast. Let's get into it. We've got Jason Griffin. And where are you out of?
Springfield, Illinois.
Springfield, another Illinoisan.
Yeah, the S is silent.
Welcome to the Drywall Podcast, Jason. You are the first of three sculptor artists.
Nice.
And fun fact, I started out, Fresco Harmony started with actual drywall sculpting and three-dimensional.
Yeah, I've seen some of your stuff.
A little bit of that.
Yeah.
Early stuff. It was years ago. I love playing and sculpting with the joint compound, though. And I don't know a whole lot about you, aside from we've been following each other for a little while on social media. And we've talked on the phone a little bit about doing fresco. And that is a fresco wall behind you, correct?
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken. That's Hidalgo Brown.
I did change the tint a bit. It started out as a gallery pearl, but I needed to match the color, the cream color that I had going on the bird, because I was debating whether I wanted contrast or not, right? Like, do I want the backdrop to be different than the bird so it stands out more? Do I want it to all blend together like it was one thing kind of sculpted out of marble, so to speak? You know,
right.
So that's why I changed it. I added just a little bit of brown.
Nice. It looks great, man. And that, I like the patina is what that would be called. It's like did you use a pigmented stain for that?
No, the bottom layer, I just got a brown, just a generic brown. Watered it down a bit so that it would flow.
Okay.
And I kind of brushed it in there and then took a rag and wiped it down.
Okay.
And then went over the top, almost like a dry brush technique with with the cream color. And that's how you get the lighter color.
It's very cool. Just FYI, you can use a water-based varnish and tint it a little bit.
Yeah,
and
I do that.
Squirt it on and rub it off and sort of get a patina that way.
I did it with I make other things, not to get off the subject of what we're talking about.
No, that's fine.
But I make my own special effects for Halloween and stuff. So I make corpses. We do the same thing with the varnish. You just on the plastic, you paint it on the plastic and let it dry for a while and wipe it down. Then it looks like skin.
Oh, neat.
There's a lot more to it, but yeah.
You know what? You should be in the movies in set design.
I would like that.
You would have fun. Jason Griffin, and you're out of Illinois, Springfield?
Yes, sir.
So is that the same Springfield as The Simpsons, or
no? That's Massachusetts, I think.
That's Massachusetts.
Yeah,
and Fun fact, in Albuquerque here, our mascot is the Isotopes. Maybe our minor league baseball team is called the Isotopes. We have statues of the Simpsons around the stadium.
That's funny.
Pretty comical. Yeah, and we have an isotope that like comes out.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's pretty funny. So Jason Griffin is a part of a 3-part series I'm doing on drywall sculpture artists. We have Jason, we have Keith out of Tucson, and then we have the famous Bernie Mitchell, which I'm sure you've heard of. Bernie,
he's the one that got me kind of interested in this.
He inspired you to do it a little bit. Yep. So one question I ask when I start the interviews is, have you listened to the Drywall podcast yet?
Yes, I listened to the Josh Martin, I think it is, the other day.
Oh yeah.
And then I went and listened to I don't forget the young lady's name.
Drywall Shorty, Lydia.
Yeah.
She's so sweet. Like,
yeah, she's really cool.
She's so cool.
Trying to make it to all of them, but it's tough, because I got home responsibilities. I had to shut the pool down, and I hate that. That's the worst time of the year.
Yeah. Well, while you're sculpting would be a good time to listen. Or what I always tell people, like on the job site, instead of listening to music, you can throw on a podcast. It's kind of a cool way to
only about an hour. Yeah.
Connect with drywallers. They're about an hour, and they're kind of entertaining. Josh really got into them, and that's how we met. I thought our interview was really good, though. It's amazing how knowledgeable you guys are, and just
talking
he does
to
different
a lot of
people
things similar that we do from what I was listening to.
Of course. Yeah. There's a lot of similarities, and then there's like little things where I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I never thought to do it that way.
Right.
And you pick out these little pearls of wisdom.
I saw it today. He did a post where he was cutting the boxes out, cleaning them out with his router. I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, quick. I do it with a razor knife, but I mean, same thing. But I never really even thought about it.
Right, you never thought of it. Just grab the cordless router and just go around
I don't even have stuff like that anymore. I haven't hung in probably 15 years. I don't touch the hanging anymore. I honestly can't stand it. I hate hanging.
Yeah. I never hung a lot. I was always finishing.
So I don't even have stuff. Like I got old corded stuff in the garage. It's probably rusty, but I don't even use it anymore.
You got to keep it around though, in case you get that, like, 10, in case you get that, or you get that 10 sheeter job, I
don't even hang those. I swear I don't even hang those. I don't even touch them.
You become a full prima donna.
Yes. Me and my partner talked about that. We're such divas. It's like, we're off the carpet. We're here.
Yeah. At about 15 years, I think every drywaller crosses that threshold from, you go straight from apprentice to diva.
Right.
Yeah.
The best is here to move.
Yeah. Before I was even out of apprenticeship school, they were calling me a prima donna. The journeyman just got a kick out of me. I was such a cocky, like, we've got a young kid. I want to get some more young dudes on here. There's a couple that are in the lineup, but there's this one guy that's been causing trouble on one of the sites. He's going around, being cocky and posting this stuff, and the old timers are getting mad at him and stuff. And I'm like, dude, I got to get that kid on the show, because like,
just to get it fired up.
Yeah, he reminds me of me.
Right. There you go.
Yeah, for sure. So when did you when did you get into drywall, and how?
I think it was, to be honest, I think it was around 97. It was when late 97, early 98, I think it was.
Okay.
I did lawn care for the longest time. Couldn't stand it, got tired of it, and just called an ad in the paper one day. Guy says, you got to be able to lift 100 pounds. And I said, okay, so I went in there, and at that time we hung and finished all of our own stuff. So because can't find good hangers, it's really hard to find good hangers.
Yeah.
No offense to you hangers out there, but a lot of you are not as good as you think you are.
Sure.
And I think sometimes maybe that is because they don't spend time finishing. Maybe if they had to finish a little bit of what they hung, they could understand some of the things that we complain about. I get, one of my biggest pet peeves is a hanger that busts the corner on a piece of rock and then sticks 7 screws in it, thinking that's helping me. I cannot stand that. I got to cut that out. You know what I mean?
What do you mean? But what do you mean busts a corner?
Okay, well, like when he's hanging his rock and he rolls up the corner and he breaks it. I mean, it's literally the corner's busted, and they don't even cut it out. They just
okay
a piece in there, and he sticks like 7 screws in it, thinking that's helping. Can't stand that. I'm like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
I got to cut that out. Now it just made it harder for me to cut all that crap out.
You got to take all the screws out. You got to pre-fill it.
Yeah. And that's the problem. And I'm like, why don't you just cut it? You're there with a knife. It's broken. Just cut it out. Well, it looks like shit. It looks like shit because you hung shit. You know what I mean? That's why it looks like it looks like crap. So cut it out. Now I've got to stop, or I've got to actually, you see our pre-fill the other day that I posted. Every job is done this way now because there's no sense in even trying to go through and just find all the broke. Just go through, cut everything, fill everything. It pretty much equalizes all the hangers that way, you know. And it kind of it's future prevention of things, you know. If that's filled with a good solid material like Quickset, it's not going to crack out, it's not going to bubble, it's not going to shrink.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the drywall is not as good nowadays. It's more brittle. It's more brittle.
The rock itself, yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of cheap fillers in it. And if you actually, you know, you see scrap, you know, because I don't hang anymore, but we do see the scrap pieces and stuff. And if you look at, there's air pockets in the drywall. I agree, but I think that's how they're getting the lightweight rock now.
Pumping little air, just like the air puff chips, like they said. More expensive, less material.
That's right.
Beautiful. Just pump a little air in there.
But everybody wants cheap, and that's part of the problem with the world. You know, everybody wants cheap and then complains because nothing's made in America anymore, and it's because nobody wants to pay American made. You know.
Or it's not quality. You know, go with the cheap guy, but don't complain.
I'm guilty. I got this cheap wind sander. You know why? Because it's $135 from Walmart, and I can buy like 7 of them in a year for half. You know what I mean? It didn't cost me.
Yeah. Walmart, I draw the line. I don't go to Walmart anymore. I'll go maybe once in a blue moon. I probably haven't been there for 3-4 years.
Well, there's no local stuff that you can really get anything made by people around here.
I just don't believe in their business ethics, which sounds like, you know, hoity-toity, but like there's certain places like I don't do Sam's either. I'll do Costco over Sam's because Sam's is Sam Walton, so they're attached to Walmart.
Exactly.
And I know Costco has better business ethics. They're still big box stores. You know, I'll go to Home Depot, but if I can absolutely, I'll go to my local L&W, Chaparral, the local drywall guys.
Yeah, I can agree. We don't really we have an Ace Hardware that are like locally owned, but that's still a corporation. You know what I mean?
I'll pay. I'll pay a little bit more. L&W is pretty cool. They sell Fresco Harmony here in Albuquerque.
Oh, that's
really great supply shop. They are national. But they're all owned, like they have a local manager. So L&W will take over the shop. Here it was Calply. They sold to L&W. L&W takes it over. It's the same sort of people, but they can just ramp it because they've got capital and marketing dollars. So they did a huge remodel. The space looks beautiful. They're very good with customer service. I'll probably pay a little bit more per box for mud, but they'll come deliver it to my garage in my house. So I buy pallets of mud and I'll have them
that's nice.
Put it in my garage.
Nobody does a good free delivery around here like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We just get our own mud. I got a little minivan that I bought. That's the newer vans. I don't know. I'm sure you've seen them. They're ugly. It's all I call the foreign looking vans. You know, that's what we get now. You can't get a regular full size van anymore.
Really?
Square things, yeah. You know, like the regular old 1-ton vans.
Yeah, the Econo line or whatever.
Yeah, they don't make those anymore. But anyways, so I got one of those. It carries about 1,800 pounds. So we just load up with mud and the guy I work with, my partner, he's got one of the old Econo lines. It's a 1-ton. So we load it up with mud and just deliver our own mud. You know.
Yeah, and what's your partner's name?
Jim. really cool guy. He's actually the guy that taught me. He's the one that I called the ad in the paper. And
oh, funny. So you've been working with Jim for years.
Yeah, about 20. Me and him together about 20 years, a little less. I went off on my own for a while. You have the typical falling out with somebody.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't even disagreement about work. It was another individual that was working with us at the time. And, turns out he's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Waste of time anyways. But, so it was a good thing. I moved out on my own and I learned some things that I didn't understand, that the guy running the show has to deal with. You know what I mean? So it's a good education to get out and get your feet wet a little bit on your own.
Yep.
It teaches you some things, you understand some things then. And now we work together rather well. We both know when to bite our tongue.
Yeah.
There's no fear in saying something like, hey, we got to do this different because that's not working, or hey, you left, you know what I mean? Because it's not a competition between us anymore. You know what I mean? We're there to get the job done. So,
yeah.
And we're kind of picky.
Good.
We actually add a day or two to our job that other people don't. And, you got the people that fly through and they'll knock this out in 5 days and be gone. And we take 8 to 10. So
yeah,
call somebody else. I mean, that's
dude. There's no shame in that, and picking up,
not at all.
Cleaning up real good, and
we're clean when we're done. The boxes are cut out like Josh does. Everything's right. We don't leave the mess there. All our buckets and boxes are gone.
Yeah, I used to use the back of my knife. Is that bad?
What do you mean? To
knock the mud out of the boxes?
Well, not if you're good. I mean, I can do it sometimes too, because the back of the knife really is, but if the reason why most of those have the mud in them anyways is because they're circled because of damage somewhere, right?
So, right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So cutting it with, there may be tape over the corner that you have to cut, you know what I mean? So there's a little bit more to it than that. But if it's just a box that happened to be in a flat that got circled because it was in a flat, then just knock it out with the knife.
I was anal. I was really anal about my box work, and even when I ran by hand, like keeping the mud out of the boxes. I was just weird and anal, and it could be the artistic side in me, but I always like to run very clean.
Not creating more work.
I would go over the box, I would go over the outlet with the box tool, or I'd go up to it and pull
and
away.
Start on the other side.
I would never run that box right over.
We do the same thing. So in order to do that for us, we go ahead and, on our coat day, we actually pull all of our corner bead and circle all the boxes and do all the handwork first.
Okay.
And break out the 10 box or 12 box. And that way you can box up to that and pull off. And I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of guys do it. We use a trace, guys, right? So Jim's pulling the box, and I'm behind him with the knife, wiping everything down that he pulls. We don't just clean the corners.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it makes a very smooth.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I've seen that. I've seen that. And then you get the Christmas trees. Sometimes.
Flames, we call them flames. Yeah. But all that stuff is gone. You know what I mean? And I don't like that start. And some guys don't even do it that on the 10 box. They just leave that there. They'll cover, but there's shrinkage, man. That's going to shrink. You know what I mean? It's just.
You're still taking the time to streak that edge when doing it your way. It just pulls that out beautiful.
It's done. There's nothing. It's all into the corner. It's completely clean.
So hey, to put a little bit of into the hand finishing and box finishing debate. That's both. You're pulling it with the box, and then you're smoothing it out with the blade.
With the hand, because the box can only do so much. It's for speed, not for perfection. Yeah. Even though they're tech tools, right? They're precision tools. When they're tuned right, they run amazing. And if your mud's right, it runs amazing. But sometimes we get inconsistency in mud. I mean, just, sometimes this bucket, if I put X amount of water in it, it's way too loose, but the next bucket is like, super stiff. I did the same amount, you know what I mean? So I mix each bucket. I'll mix all of our buckets for the day at one shot.
Okay.
I see a lot of guys only have 1 or 2 buckets mixed. If I'm going to use 8 buckets to box today, I'm mixing it all up right now, and we're going to run, and it's done.
That's smart. I think that's smart. You're saving a lot of time going back to the mixing area.
We have to have, well, I heard somebody say that the other day, I don't have to walk back to the mixing area as much when they were talking with the bazooka debate, right? The bazooka banjo debate.
Oh my God.
I don't have to, well, I never walk back to the mixing station because I got this thing called the mud cart that I put my mud on and I drag it with me. It only makes sense to do.
Now, have you seen Mike Roush's Yellow Jacket?
Is it like the cart with the big tank of mud on it?
It's the crate that holds the bucket in place that sits on a wooden. It's called the Yellow Jacket.
Oh no, I don't think
he's got a double, and it holds your bucket while you mix without it spinning. The bucket.
Okay, I have seen that thing. There's one that. Okay, I think I've seen that.
And then they put a couple of them. They put a couple on casters. So like you can, so it's got two screens with two buckets, and you can cruise around with that thing, and it holds your bucket.
That's basically what we're doing with the mud cart. I put 3 buckets of mud on there and put the pump in it, and we go to town.
Go for it.
You just take it with you.
What is your mud cart?
They're mud carts. They're small bakers.
Okay.
They fold up.
Yeah. Yeah, I have one. I have one right back here in the studio. I set stuff. It's just a shelf for me.
Yeah. But. Well, we have actually 6 of them on the job.
Those things are badass.
So yeah, we have a duplex. So I've got 2 carts, and Jim's got like all kinds of equipment. This guy.
That's awesome.
Equipment over the years, and so he's got 2 on each side, and I've got 1 on each side. And so that gives us 6, and then we got baker racks, the bigger ones.
Yeah,
garage and stuff.
I call those Perrys.
Perry, yeah, they're Perrys. Yeah, they're not. The Perry was the brand, I think.
Yeah.
So
I always say Perry, and people are like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like,
it was a brand. Yeah, I think that was the brand. It used to be the old Perry scaffolding too.
Yeah,
which actually. It's kind of weird. I don't think any of that scaffolding will hook up with any other scaffolding. The diameters.
Fun fact.
Which is kind of weird because.
What do you think about the advanced cart? So they make their own little cart with a little wash station. You got Ice Rock. He's promoting it.
A wash station on it, really?
It holds the box. There's a little box holder, holds the box. I think they're pricey. In my opinion, I think they're like $500 to $700 or something like that.
Yes, to me that's a lot of money when the cart is like $99, $120, whatever.
But it's got a little wash station that drains, and it's got some bells and whistles. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I got a hose out back in a bucket, so it kind of works the same way.
Yeah,
you know, I'm that guy, right? I hate to be that guy. I was the guy that did the same thing though when I first saw your fresco. I'm like, I'm just going to put chalk in my mud.
Sure.
Right? I was that guy, right? But
I'm always like, go for it, but don't fucking call me with questions.
Right. I agree. And you know what? It does work. But the thing that I do like about the Fresco Harmony is that the matching system, it's all the same, right? Like every single time. I can't make a color and get it, even if I measure it.
You can, but it's going to take a lot of work. I've done all that work for you. Yeah, I get these guys that are like, hey Nick, I'm adding my own color. Can you tell me everything on how to do this? And it's like, fuck you, dude.
No, right? And I don't do that because I'm like, fuck it, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to figure it out. Right?
Here's a fun fact about that, Jason, is that I buy my own product. Like. Mm-hmm. Fresco Harmony Services buys product from my company.
Makes sense.
I do, because it's easier for me to take the bottles onto the job, and I still have to buy the acrylic. Yeah. So I've made it pretty much paint by numbers for people to just get the color. And sure, if you want to go color your own mud, go do that. I'm not going to tell you how to do it.
Sure.
You can dump color or chalk or whatever into your mud. And color it. Where Fresco Harmony comes in handy is 2 things. The bottle is formulated so that you can get perfect color from batch to batch. And then the color chart will show your clients, here's the colors you can get.
Yeah, actually, I've got charts.
I didn't have that when I started. I was shooting from the hip. I was like, they would have to show me a paint swatch and I would go make a color. But having that color chart is a very big deal.
It is.
Like, it helps you communicate color.
Well, the formulated thing is kind of nice. Like you said, like, okay, So I added a little color to this one to make it the color that I wanted, but I'll never be able to match that now. If I got to repair that for some reason, I can't match it. And I actually did that on the, I don't know, remember the Christ picture that I did?
Yeah.
Okay. The background color on that was a color that I made, right?
Right.
I actually had to do a repair on it, and you can see it.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy.
And you're absolutely right. Now, what you could do, you could get another purple and just skim the wall and then reseal it. Not a big deal. But you got to go in and around all those nooks and crannies, right?
Yeah. Because I think you actually asked me that. Why wouldn't I do the fresco first and then put the picture on? But I have to clean off the edges of whatever the design is that we're doing. Like say on the eagle here, when I'm putting those wings on, the way I spread that mud out, I got to cut that off basically and shape that, right? So if the fresco's already on there, it's spreading white mud over that fresco. Sealed it first maybe, but then
you know what you could do? We're using a floor sealer that I don't sell that I'm happy to, talk about. It's a floor sealer that's a urethane, water-based urethane. It's a 2-part.
Like polyacrylic?
It is like that. It's like really tough, but it'll, we did it. We're doing it recently. You spray it on and then kind of trowel it off. It's thin. Gotcha. So you got to do 2 coats of the Fresco Harmony clear coat, and that's so that it doesn't seep in and eat into the Fresco Harmony. You have to have a substantial cover of clear coat. So you go to do 2 coats of gloss, and then you do the spray sealer, and you could wipe that white mud off of that.
Now, I was going to ask you about that actually. When you're doing your sealer on there, like I do 2 layers on there, right? But I use the clear coat, the satin finish on this one.
Okay.
And do you leave that on thick on that first coat? Because I kind of wipe it tight on both coats.
I wipe it tight, but we just had that job that I just posted where we did the sand finish. They spray textured the base coat. Dude, those guys ripped that job. 8 days, 2 dudes, 4,000 square feet of fresco.
Wow.
No texture, level 3, no sanding. And they started out, and I told the owner, I was like, I'll bet you could spray it. And I'm not good with spraying. I'm not familiar with like spray rigs and stuff. They were. So they thinned the mud down. They set their spray rig. So they had a lot of pressure. And they thinned their mud way down, and they sprayed like basically a primer coat, like a bubbly primer coat.
Like an orange peel type of thing.
Kind of like a light orange peel over the whole wall to cover up your butts and bands and just do that initial color. But then when you do the sand, it sits on that surface and so what Jack and I do is we let it dry halfway when we're doing the sand, kind of like Structolite or stucco. Okay. Yeah. And then when you go to seal it, you introduce that sealer and it compresses the mud. And
it really kind of does what a fresco is, right? Like,
correct. It seeps in.
What a real fresco is, right?
Yes.
So that's the Sistine Chapel and stuff was done in a fresco style.
Yep.
Where the plaster's put on and painted before it's dry. So the paint.
Well, the color, the wall is thirsty for moisture.
That's right. So it sucks it in.
So it sucks that color in, and that's why you get such long-lasting quality out of a true fresco. Yeah. But they let the wall dry all the way because they were like, screw it, we want to go through and just mud everything and then go back and seal, and then they went back, they let it dry all the way, and then they sanded it a little bit, which is fine before your sealer coat. You can do that as long as you're not getting crazy.
Yeah, because then you get rid of all your character.
You're a little bit of character. And Robert he wanted more character in the wall because you lose the character because you're not troweling on that base coat.
Right.
So it's more flat and uniform. So he left, and if you use gloss sealer, this will occur. If you leave that sealer heavier, you don't want to leave it too heavy, but if you leave it heavier, you'll get darker areas.
It leaves like that lap look.
A little bit. And
finish.
And I looked at the job. It's gorgeous. So here's an instance where this company instilled their own little techniques that I considered, but I never did. And they on the base coat they save 70 hours of labor.
Well, see, that's the cool thing that I like about mud, I guess, is that there seems to be no limits, really. I mean, it structurally isn't, it has no integrity for structural strength, but it's I don't know. You can almost do anything you want with it. You can you can color it, you can shape it, you can build it up, you can.
Well, especially all purpose. All purpose is so cool. I mean, Quickset's cool too because of the sculptural aspect. Mm-hmm. But all purpose.
Well, I use that just because of the shrink. It doesn't shrink, right?
Okay.
The quick all purpose or something. If we use like green lid, right? The USG all purpose, that stuff is
too brittle,
so bad. Yeah. Even though it's harder, right, than the blue lid, it shrinks really, 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 really bad. So so when you build, I think anybody that knows in the drywall world, if you build up that mud really thick like that regular mud, it will spider crack and do all that as it's drying because it shrinks because there's a moisture or water in it, and when the water evaporates, that leaves space, right? Basic physics. So it's going to shrink and it cracks. But the Quickset seems to not do that, and it's stronger. It's much, much, much stronger than mud.
Yeah, that wing on your Griffin makes me nervous.
It is. I wish other people could see. I would kind of show.
Oh, we can post a picture, or when we do, when I do your promo, we'll post pictures and stuff.
It's actually very strong.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay.
I mean, now you don't want to hit it. That's obviously going to break if you just hit it. But I cleaned up.
Did you use any kind of a screen? Or?
Yeah, that's where I was just going to say I was going to break some out. Normally, I've got that stuff sitting around. My wife hates me for it. This is my little area back here, and it seems it's my desk is a mess.
That's okay.
I'm creative. I'm not cleanly.
Like a backing,
it's the stuff that bricklayers put on the house before they put like cobblestone and stuff up. There's a
chicken wire.
Yeah, that chicken wire, but it's a little tighter than regular chicken wire, right? It's like the diamond shaped squares, real tight together.
So you sculpt that. You sculpt that into your preliminary shape, I would assume.
Yes,
and
then something like this, I'll give you guys some tricks that I use, which I only do this because I don't mind sharing, right? A lot of guys would be, I'm not going to tell you, figure it out your own.
Dude, hey Jason, pro secret, it doesn't matter, dude. They don't give a shit.
Well, basically with this one, have you ever been? I'm sure you've been to the hobby store, or you've seen have you ever had a cast? Right? They take that wrap that they soak it in hot water, and then they wrap it, and it makes a cast, right? Like a plaster cast.
Right? Paper mache.
Kind of, but it's actual plaster on this cloth. That you can buy at the hobby store, right?
Yeah, you can do it. You can do faces.
Yeah, exactly. This is where I learned this at. Actually, this is part I took a lot of things. I took Bob Ross stuff and all this stuff and used it to make. You know what I mean? I just combined all these things.
Love it.
This stuff. So the cloth is a plaster cloth. So I put at first I tried to do it flat on the wall, but I couldn't get the look. The angles didn't look right. When you're trying to take and make it look very three-dimensional on that flat wall, it's kind of hard to do. You have to, if you stand at the wrong angle, it doesn't look right, basically. You know what I mean? If you're not standing right on at 6 foot, you know what I mean, then you can't tell. So it was bothering me. In the videos, you can see on my videos, I actually cut the wing off and redid it. I did some videos I got some on YouTube.
On YouTube, okay. And what's the YouTube handle?
Drywall Sculpting with Jason. And I did some stuff with my Elvis. There's some videos of and it's a bunch of little videos because when I first started doing that, I'm not good with videos, as you can tell. Sitting here talking to me, I get really uncomfortable doing this.
Oh, you're doing great, man. This is great.
But and I don't have a lot of technology type of stuff. You know what I mean? I got my cheap phone because I won't buy a $1,300
dude.
I mean, so
these come with the phone.
Right?
These are like 10 years old.
Yeah. So, that's how anyways, it's hard for me to film, but so I do a bunch of these little films of things that I've done. Anyways, so I got some of the Elvis on there, and then there's some on my Facebook page too. I got another, Jason Griffin Artworks with an X. on Facebook you can go to too. It's an open page and it's got a lot of videos that I did on there. Anyways, to get back to what we were saying, I get the chicken wire mesh in there, the shapes that I wanted. And then I covered that with that plaster stuff first, because if you can use just mud. I did that on the very first eagle that I did with the flag in the background, but I kept breaking off feathers as I was sanding them, trying to get them smooth. And then when you try to carve in the lines for all the feather, like the hatching and the feather, it's really brittle. It breaks. It's really, really hard to do that with just the mud.
That must have been annoying as hell.
Yeah, I was ready to break things. And then my wife, she's like, just calm, I know it's not a big deal. It's not, but it's annoying. I'm trying to do this, and it's really, I'm like right there, and then pop, I'm like, shit, and then I got to try. I
love how you were not satisfied with keeping the wing on the wall. I love that the artist in you required that you pull that wing off of the work, and to me, it's huge. Like, I don't think that Griffin would be the same if it looks
that's
so
where
cool.
I was saying, I wanted to see how far we could push this. Like, how far can we go? I've seen a lot of people do art stuff with the mud, and they're fascinating. They're very, very good.
Yeah.
But rarely does it come off the wall. And that's what I want to create. You know what I mean? How far can we go with this? And I seen one guy had this thing coming out. I don't know, it was like a Spartan or something coming off the wall that he had done, and it looked pretty good. The details weren't the greatest, but it's hard. It's a hard medium to work with. So, I didn't hate on him too much for it. I thought it looked pretty cool. But
when you see the stuff they're doing in the Middle East.
Oh, that's fascinating.
It's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me with that shit? The roses.
I think they're using a plaster, though. They're not actually using the mud.
They're using plaster. Oh, yeah.
And as it's setting, they're kind of doing a similar thing, though. As it's setting, there's a perfect time, and it's a small window to where it's sculptable and it's real malleable. You can move things around and you can mess with it, and then in like 2 minutes, it's done. You can't move it now. It's set. And plaster is even harder because you can't really sand. I mean, you can, but it doesn't sand well.
Right.
It's very, very hard to sand.
Yeah.
That's where the quickset's actually rather forgiving. It says easy sand, even though it's a hell of a lot harder than mud to sand. It's you can sand it, especially in these pictures. It works pretty well.
Sorry, we got off on a tangent there. You were explaining the wire. And that's okay. The plaster cloth.
Yeah. Well, then once I got the wire in, I put that plaster cloth on there, let it set up. That way I can build the mud on top of that.
Yeah.
Because, and again, you can put the mud on there, but you have to work so much slower. You can only put like this thin layer, and then you got to wait, and then you got to put a thin layer and wait, and you got to build it up, build it up, build it up.
What quickset are you using? Are you using
20 minute for most of it?
Oh wow, 20. Okay.
Yeah, well, because I'm only mixing small portions. I'm mixing what I can mess with right now, because again, there's that window, right? And people should know too. The quickset isn't dry in 20 minutes. It's set, and it still takes all night to cure, especially when you're putting the stuff on this thick. It's as thick as your fist. That's still damp inside. It's hard to set, but it's not dry. So before you paint these, give them a couple days to dry.
We've ran into that recently with Jack trying to rush patches. Yeah, and you'll do a heavy patch with 20-minute, and he's pretty good. Like, so you can get away with that if you're painting over it. But with the fresco, you'll get a dark line.
Oh, will you? Wow.
Yeah, and so now it's just like, dude, just all patches are 2 days.
You just gotta let them go, and
you have to let that base quick set. If you're doing like for instance, the recent one we did was they took an old wall heater off. The wall was Fresco Harmony, so we had to go in, fill that big gap, and then refresco the wall. Well, we had a dark area at the base because he pushed it and tried to do it in a day, and the clients complained, and it was like, I go in and take a look at it. I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll come back and reskim it.
Yeah, all you got to do is go back over it again, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gravy.
Yeah, but I do understand. I mean, I say that because you want to make sure it's cured all the way, right? I mean, you don't want.
Correct. So the 20 minutes going to cure. It's going to cure faster. There's been a couple debates on the social media groups too about like curing. Like 20 minute, you can put it on, but if you're putting it on heavy, like it's going to take a day to cure.
People notice it too, but when you put quickset over paint, it doesn't dry, and it's time. It doesn't set like it says it will, right? So if you're using a minute, it takes almost an hour for that to start.
Yeah, it'll be dry. But it's not cured.
It's not. Yeah. And I'm a real stickler on coating over wet stuff. I don't like to do it. Now with the artwork here, I'm going wet over wet over wet over wet because I want those to bond as one thing. You know what I mean? I don't, because this stuff will layer. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that in any of my other videos that I did on the artwork, but the quickset will layer.
Oh yeah.
So if you're building and building and building, you'll have these layers, and they'll chip off like in layers like that when you're trying to cut into it or do things. It'll chip off in layers. So the more you can try to get the majority of, like with the art, the more you get done at once today, like as we're doing this, the better, because it's all gonna it melds together. You know what I mean? It's like
clay, like that's kind of like clay.
Yeah,
and you want to score it when you're bonding two pieces. You want to score it.
That does help, actually. I kind of try to leave that stuff as rough as I can until that lasts, so that it can bite. And then some of it, like on the first eagle, I used actually screws. The very first one I did, I used some screws and set so that the mud would have something to bite to.
Yeah.
So it would just fall off. And that's where I told people too about how quickset doesn't bond well to shiny surfaces, and people would argue with me, and I'm like, it will in some instances, but if you get too thick with it, it will pop, right? It'll come off clean, like it wasn't even there. And I've had it happen over and over and over. I actually was doing a horse on the wall in my hallway at the old house that I had. That's literally what happened. Now, I think some of that is when you guys were talking the other day, I think it was with Josh Martin, about people using harsh abrasives on the walls or anything like that. I think nicotine is one of the biggest problems.
Oh, wow.
Because it puts a film on the wall. And now things don't want to stick.
Yeah, wood paneling specifically. We've gone over a bunch of wood paneling. He said he's done 70 wood paneling, 0 issues.
Wow.
He said though where his was different than mine was we used a water-based latex primer, and that came off. The mud came off. The primer came off. Gotcha. Jack's like, dude, we're primering everything now. But I think what we haven't done, and we will do in the future, is use an oil-based primer. So he said, you use an oil-based primer, you can go over wood paneling, no problem. And then people were like, people might ask, well, why wouldn't you just hang over the wood paneling? Well, you got to take off the trim.
Yeah, there is more. Yeah, like you said,
ton more work.
Now the covers for the boxes. There's a whole big process that goes into this now.
Right, wood paneling's that's a cool topic that I want to I want to flesh out more.
Was wood paneling, and it's frescoed over.
There you go.
Again, I was worried about it, but I think if you go through and you secure this, because old paneling has secure, it's not secured to the wall.
Yeah, it's loose, and you can feel it.
I was gonna pull off, but actually there was drywall underneath of it, and they liquid nailed it to the wall, so it's not coming off. It's like I'm gonna create more of a problem trying to remove it.
Right.
So I left it on, and let me I'll take my camera here. See I can't see it. That wall, see the paneling there?
Yep, I got it.
Paneling.
Yep, painted paneling. And now it looks like you have a little bit more fresco harmony to do in that room, buddy.
Oh, a lot more to do, yeah. I'm trying to figure out what'll match that fireplace.
Oh my God. I just looked at 2 of those that we are gonna either rip out and reframe, seriously, rip out and reframe.
Yeah, they're horrible.
I've got a guy.
It looks cool, but it's outdated.
It's dated. I've got a guy that frames over them, and then we do hang and fresco. But he said on the last one that he'll rip those out. It's river rock, and he was
this is like lava rock. It's really sharp and rough and ragged. I mean, it'll tear your skin. I mean, it looks kind of cool. It was one of the things that was a selling point to me, honestly, when I bought this house. I liked it.
Funny.
But that was if I was going to go like shiplap on the walls and get real rugged in here, right?
Right.
And then it it would have.
No, I would do I would do wood slats, inch by 2 inch or whatever, and do your slats and glue and fasten those somehow.
Yeah,
around
make a frame around the ceiling first. And
yep. It's a bitch. It's a bitch. But you know what? We've done a lot of those, and they can be money makers. I'm at 2,000 minimum for one of those, and that's with the framer guy. So we'll just split it. And she has two of them, 4K. He could probably break those out and frame them and hang them. So he'll hang, and then we'll finish in fresco. And his scope would probably take 2 days.
That's not bad.
Nah,
that's not bad at all.
No, and they're high-end client. They'll pay it, and we'll make 4K. The fresco will take a little longer, but 2 small fireplaces, that ain't no big deal.
I don't know, man. It would almost be easier to bust this one out.
Exactly. Yep.
I mean, they're so big and misshapen, and
plus you're building the fireplace out when kills the space. Yeah. So Robbie told me that this was just like 2 days ago. He was like, "Oh, the last one I did like that, I busted it out." Did you see that brick fireplace I did? It looked like
with the broken brick. Yeah.
So he hung all that brick. That had river rock, and he broke all the river rock out, and then he actually masoned old looking brick because they specifically wanted like cracked looking plaster.
You could have done that with just some quickset on there. You could have made that look with
I could probably do. I've done brick with quickset before, and it just kind of looks cheesy. And no offense. I mean,
it's the way you paint it too. You can't.
It's the way, and how you score it and stuff. But okay,
there's a lot to it.
Okay, so now you take all that time to make the faux brick look like real brick. Just fucking put up real brick.
Yeah, but you bricked the whole thing, right? For just a couple small strips that you had in there that was exposed.
He thought about doing that too, but man, we wanted to go. But then you don't get the level, the surface.
And a good quality painter, like myself,
sure,
paint some brick inside there. It looked really good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I still think, man, if you want,
I'm not knocking it. It looked cool. Don't get me wrong.
If you want the authentic brick, man, it's got to be brick.
I agree with that for sure. I do agree with that. I mean, I'm not going to take away from that.
I've seen some badass faux brick work in my time. But like, and you see the fake plaster breaking at like Italian restaurants and stuff.
I don't like that. That looks...
It's so rare that I see one that I like, and not that I'm like the end all beat all with but plaster.
There's a detail that's not there, and I know what you're saying. That's the thing that
the authenticity.
When I'm doing these, I keep breaking pieces off and redoing them because there's something that's not okay. Like when I do the faces, right? I got to get a picture of this guy's face from like 7 different angles, so that when I'm doing this, because you can't get it to look right if you're just looking straight on. There's what's creating his nose to look like that. Well, there's a depth that you can't see from the side. I don't know how to explain it. I wish I could explain this better. I'm not good with the words.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Why do his eyes look so deep in his head? Well, they are. So you can't see that from the front very well. You can just see the shadow there. But if you turn them from the side, you can see that they're concaved in. The forehead comes out further.
Your profile.
Yeah, exactly. But there's the angled profile there. You know what I mean? It's like at a 45. You know what I mean? There's all these different looks that you want to see so that you can try to get it as close as possible. I mean, it's hard enough to draw a face, let alone sculpt one. I give so many props to the old sculptors, Michelangelo, people like that stuff. And because they couldn't mess up. You did that out of a piece of marble. So if you screwed up, that thing shot. The whole piece is done. You know what I mean? So the old saying, don't you? Like about the sculptors that Michelangelo used to say that the piece was already there. I just removed the excess. You just had to remove the excess. And
I love that.
It is true.
The piece was always the Griffin. The Griffin always lived on your wall. It just needed to be.
Yeah, that's exactly. And that's. But it takes a while. I sit and I stare. I stared at my wall for probably 4 days. You know what I mean? And people don't understand, but I've just got images going through my head. I'm trying to see what would look great there, and it just dawned on. I was going to actually do like a Mayan. Somebody when I was doing other pictures, I did the Indian head a while back, and somebody goes, "Who do one of these next?" And it was a Mayan carrying a girl that was like sacrificed, right? I was like, "That's pretty cool. I could do that. I could do like a Poseidon coming out." I was like, "That'd be really cool." Because I got the pool right outside. So I'm kind of thinking we could have the theme there. But the Griffin popped in my head and I'm like, it kind of fits, right? That's, so.
Yeah. And you've done, how many of these pieces? You've done a handful. You haven't done anything in a while, right?
No.
You've been kind of on a hiatus, but you went through, you did like,
I run out of things to do. I've done, and they're all hanging up in here. Actually, I've got them all in my house. I've sold a few pieces. I did a few pieces with some friends. Yeah. I've done and some you guys have never seen because I think they look like shit and I don't show them.
Sure.
I've done probably 30 of them.
Okay.
But I run out of I don't want to keep doing them on pieces of drywall. They're just sitting here, right? I mean, that's kind of nice because then they can be moved and taken wherever and hung up. You know what I mean? And they look kind of cool. I don't know if we can.
Sure.
My Elvis.
I know the Elvis is cool.
And I don't know if you can see that stuff over there.
I love it.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So I do got them up, and but I can't just keep doing this stuff all over my house. Right? I have these pictures all over because some people aren't going to like that.
Wait, why not? Why not?
Well, if I was to sell the house, right, one day, somebody that doesn't like this is going to have to bust that off the wall or pay somebody to come in.
You cut that shit out when you move.
And that's well, I can't take that with me, unfortunately.
That's true. That's true because it's glued there.
It is, but and that's what I wanted to do, though. Actually, I wanted to go into places and do these pictures, but man, I don't know how to charge for it because obviously it's a skill that not everybody has, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to get paid well for it, but nobody's wanting to pay what I think it's worth, right? That's the problem. Like I live in an area where there's a lot of fake money. These people have. We build $1 million homes, we drywall them.
I think it's marketing, and not everybody wants a Griffin, but people might want a raised border or fresco harmony. Well, simple shit. I try
to push all those things. Our builders are not one to push fresco on around here because they could give 2 squirts less, really. The high end builders that's who we do most of our work for. Those people tell the builder what they want, right? They was like. Yeah. We just did this weird skip trowel in the ceiling, which looking up skip trowels, it's nothing that I've seen anybody else doing.
I think, right? Was it coming out from the middle?
No, it was just basically we rolled mud on the ceiling and I took my trowel and I held it like almost at like a 3, like almost flat, like it was almost flat and just pushed it across the ceiling. And it does this pull look.
Okay.
It just pulls it. It's like an old stucco kind of.
Okay.
Personally, I thought it looked like crap, but these people wanted that. They said, "Oh, this is what our house in Florida has," and I'm like,
"Sure,
whatever." You know what I mean? So we did.
Yeah.
It looked pretty cool, I guess, when it was done. I guess in the right setting, it would look okay. I don't think I'd do the whole house's ceiling that way, but maybe a room that's set up with some kind of theme. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not a big texture fan. We do stomps mostly around here, the crowfoot stomp. That's
okay.
That's the average, and we don't do the stalactite one because I can't stand that. Ours is very thin mud, and it's on thin, so it
keep it nice and tight.
Yeah, because then your ceiling still looks flat.
Yeah,
it still looks like you did a quality job. When I see heavy textures, it's almost a tell sign to me that they did a shitty job. You know what I mean? It just it's not always necessarily true, but it just and this is another reason I don't try to move areas because, I grew up in Phoenix when I was a teenager. I went back to visit my grandma after I had been a drywaller, and her house was the worst job that I had ever seen in my life. And every house out west is done this way. And I was just blown away that it was like one coat on the corner be bullnose.
Yeah.
And it taped the corners. You know what I mean? It was horrible, and it was knocked down. So not only was the dry. You could see all the flats and everything through the knockdown. I mean, it was horrible. I'm like, how does anybody get paid for that?
Yeah.
How do you get a check when the job looks like I can't stand it? If there's a lap mark in my corner, I'll lose my shit. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's got to come out, you know? And again, we do steps that other people don't. We do that pre-fill. You know, we'll do a tape, and we don't coat over wet stuff. So, you know, when we come in and do our bed coat, we do all our we pick our corners out a third time. People don't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before we even texture, we go through and we spend one day and we slide every edge and every lap mark and everything tight. There's almost no sanding. However, I've gotten in discussions with other guys. Oh, you don't have to sand my work. And I'm like, bullshit. You have to sand the work. I mean, it doesn't matter how smooth you pull it. There's a texture difference.
I agree with you there. It doesn't matter how flat you feather that edge. It's still an edge.
There's a texture difference. The paper is different than that mud. I mean, because you're right. You can pull that so slick. I mean, it's smooth. Yeah, but that's too smooth now.
Like you say, even to where you like brush it with your hand. I mean, it still has an edge. Yeah, I agree. It's like especially if you're doing level 4 or you're doing a very thin texture and you don't want those butts.
Yeah,
you've got to sand, and that's just it doesn't mean you're a bad finisher.
No,
it means you're a good finisher.
That's right. I mean, you know that's the other thing too, right? Like I put a third coat. All my third coat stuff is done by hand. The boxes are great. We 10 box, we 12 box, we run an angle box. We did try the mud runner thing. Did not like that. It dumps way too much mud. The
mud runner. Explain what the mud runner is a little bit.
I think it was Tape Tech. It's the one where you twist the handle and it comes out the big tube. You pump it up with a pump.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's in a big clear tube. You put the angle head on it and you twist the handle as you're running the angles with it.
Oh, okay. That was after my time.
No, yeah, it's fairly new.
It's new. It's
$800. We bought one, you know what I mean? And it's just mud it's so much mud it dumps on the angle. It's so
you like the old school angle box.
Yeah, that's what we use.
Okay.
I mean, I prefer not to have to push. Don't get me wrong. We try the new stuff.
Yeah.
Like the bazooka. We don't use a bazooka. We're banjo guys. Nice. I don't have a problem with the bazooka. I think the bazooka is very efficient. I think it can be great. I'm not against it at all.
Yeah.
One of the problems is neither one of us ever took the time to learn to run it because we don't have the time.
It's a bitch.
You know what I mean? So,
it's a bitch, but Jason, they're a lot of fun.
Oh, and I'm sure there's a lot of because I run the banjo on the job. Jim's the white guy. I run the banjo.
Yeah.
He runs the boxes. I do the trick. You know what I mean? So we have our things that we do, but but I keep my banjo fairly clean compared to other guys. I keep water with me. I wash it down. Other guys may say, "Oh, that's time consuming." No, it's not, because it makes me faster. I'm clean when I'm clean. I'm quicker.
Yeah,
I'm gacked and covered in mud and shit. I can't touch anything. I can't. You know what I mean? I can't. It drives me crazy. So don't get me wrong. The mud on the hands does suck. But I'm fairly efficient with the banjo. Been doing it for 25 years.
My crew in Crested Butte, they ran the banjo, and they'd have 2 of them.
Yeah.
And there were 4 dudes. They hung. We all hung. I finished in texture, but these guys, they would hang, finish, and texture.
Yeah.
And those boys would bust out their banjos, man. I remember when I moved to Crested Butte, I was like, why the fuck are you guys using a banjo? And they were fast with it. But I'll tell you this, when they went to do Alan, one of the guys I worked with, he went and they would bid their own projects sometimes. He hired me to run my boss's bazooka because I was fucking fast. Like with that, if you got a fast bazooka guy, I mean,
well, we've ran behind a bazooka guy.
It's fast.
With us, there was things I didn't like about the way he ran it. I guess it was his style, but he didn't cut each wall, right? He just
I would
cut it and all.
I would cut everything, dude. I would take off the little pieces and put them on. If there's blowouts, I would do all of it.
That's where the banjo is more efficient, right? It's quicker for me to just do this than it is with the bazooka, with the now big open runs. I'll agree with you that the bazooka is going to smoke me You know, even though I'm quick with, but I still got
or high up, you big vaults, a banjo is way more efficient up there.
Yeah, the closets, I think a banjo is a little more efficient. I have seen the guys that are good with their bazooka and they can tape that inside angle with it.
You pull it down, stick it in that corner.
I'm not knocking them. I think it's great. I think all things have their place.
Yeah.
And we are old school. We are kind of stuck in some ways, right? But we're not afraid of trying the new things. Hell, we wouldn't have boxes if we were. You know what I mean? When we run our angles, we tape with a 3-inch head. We go over it with a 3.5-inch head. I would like that, a 4-inch head, really, but those are hard to find. I think that makes them. I don't remember who it is.
Well, you heard it here. Jason Griffin is looking for a 4-inch head. Scott with level 5. I know you're listening. We're gonna get
as long as it's good. We're tape tech people our whole life. We've tried other things.
Oh, right.
And now
you might not be a level 5 guy. You might be. Josh was tape tech guy too.
Well, we've used the other stuff too. What is it? Master something. They're American made. They're made in Chicago. We use they're not bad. We got a couple of their boxes, and they're pretty good actually. That's what my angle box is right now. It's not the tape tech.
Sure.
They're black boxes. Black.
Is it Columbia?
No, it's not Columbia.
Okay.
Man, what is it? Something Master.
We'll figure it out.
So yeah. Anyways, they're
put it in the show notes.
Use them. They're good. All the stuff's interchangeable with the tape tech stuff. So the blades that you have for your boxes and stuff, it's all interchangeable. So
love talking to you, Jason. We could go for a while, man. This is I love the art talk, the tool talk. I mean, it's all awesome stuff, man. And just
sorry, we kind of got off track. I was trying to stay on the art thing there, but
No. You know what? Talking to my guy, Jack, the drywall guys like the tool talk for sure. I think
that's what we all are. We're all drywall guys.
Yeah, we're all drywallers. So I think people are curious about how we do things, and I think that it's interesting, and hopefully we can learn something,
Yeah, well, that's what I said in my other video. There's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
It's the same in the end, which I kind of agree with and kind of don't. But there's steps that should be taken to ensure a long-lasting product.
Also, too, I wish I could get you and your partner down here. I've got a builder that has 30 lots. He's got 16 houses ready to go, all hang, finish, fresco, harmony. I could keep.
What are you guys paying down there? Because we charge for the square foot of drywall.
Yeah, it'll be square footage. Hard to tell because his drywall dudes will do the fresco harmony, but I just recently got bids for. I got a takeoff on 3 of his houses, and I gave them to Elite Drywall that did the last one.
It have to be worth it for us to come 1,000 miles to.
I know. No, that much work, you want to move down here,
right? Yeah. And I'm not even wanting to do that really.
But Santa Fe would be a market for that stuff that you're selling. I think a lot of it is how you sell. And I'll be talking about that with Keith and Bernie. How do you get these jobs? How do you sell it?
Yeah, because I get so excited when I'm talking about it. I get out of breath. You know what I mean? I'm trying to pump these people up. They probably track or something. You know what I mean? But
I'll bet you could get some interest if you did some simpler designs at a home show.
Well, I was doing stuff for a lady. She wanted these wine glasses, and I started doing it, and she wanted some updates. So I showed her. She's like, "Oh, that's nothing what I had in mind." And I'm like, "It's not done yet." You know what I mean? You said you wanted some updates, so I gave you an update. This is what it looks like so far. It's a building process. I mean, the splashes. Yeah, I got to build that in.
Yeah, managing expectation, talking to clients, like when you're doing art, it's art, man. That is I can't guarantee you're gonna like it. Here's a small sample of what it's gonna look like, and for it's gonna. I have a $5,000 minimum, whatever, to step into your house and do this shit, and it's gonna be amazing. And your friends aren't gonna have anything like it.
Yeah, well, that's what I try to sell people. I mean, think of the talking point at parties. You know what I mean? That's actually how I sold my first fresco.
And just like, and that's how I mean, all I do is sell fresco, and it's like, why wouldn't you have this shit on your walls? Like,
well, this is one
you want ugly ass crow's foot. You want like a skip trowel. Like, hey bud, for an extra $2 a square foot, look at this sample. We'll do this on all your walls. Are you kidding me?
Sure.
Why wouldn't you want this? Yeah, would you rather drive a Pinto or a Cadillac? Seriously. Right? Would you consider having laminate countertops or would you like granite? It's a no fucking brainer.
Yeah. That's what I say to people, but then they're going to go on to the point, well, then why don't I just get Venetian plaster? Well,
because it's more expensive.
It's way
you can't hang a picture on it. It's hard to patch.
Yeah.
There's a myriad of reasons why you don't do Venetian plaster. I just went and looked at a Venetian plaster patch 3 inches on a fireplace. I told her $500. And it's going to probably take me 20 minutes. I'm just telling you right now, I can't guarantee that you're not going to see it. I'm going to patch it. Yeah. I'm going to patch it with Fresco Harmony. I'm going to need the money up front. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm an artist and I think I can make it go away. Worst case scenario, we have to reskim the front of her fireplace and match the color. 3-inch little piece with it just fell off, a little crack that fell. The rest of the house looks great. Good. Whoever did the plaster, it looks great. But this one little spot, like right on the front of the fireplace, fell off. You're screwed. And it's like, that's why plaster sucks.
It is. I think it's very long lasting if it's done properly.
Sure.
House here's got plaster, and I've only got.
But it's not, dude. You walk into a house with plaster for 12 years, and the plaster's still on the wall, but it looks like shit because it's all beat up.
Well, actually, that's what I'm saying. This house here is 60 years old, and it's got plaster walls, and the only places I got cracks is in the doorway.
That's not bad. Yeah, that's not bad.
Well, this is why when the plumber's like, "Hey, you got to fix this behind. You got to cut a hole in the wall." I don't want to cut a hole in the wall.
I know.
Plaster's fine. I don't want to screw the plaster. You know what I mean? No, you can patch. You're a drywall. You can patch it. I'm like, you're not understanding. For one, it's the same grit finish. It's been painted over like 37,000 times. You're never gonna match that, right? Like you can't match it.
Right. I know people that have gone in the back of the house here through the stucco because they'd rather repair the stucco than the interior plaster.
Really?
Yeah. Like that's an option. They could go through the back of the house. Like Jason, super pleasure, dude. Jason Griffin. You can find Jason on what do we got here? We got Drywall Sculpting with Jason on YouTube.
I've only got a few videos,
Doesn't matter. I want to check that out. And there's a Facebook page, Jason Griffin Artworks.
Yes, with an X.
With an X. And Instagram?
No, I don't have any. I mean, I do have that stuff, but I don't really have anything in that stuff.
Okay, that's fine.
Not very tech savvy.
And Jason's an amazing artist. Pearl of wisdom you could bestow on the drywall community.
Pride and integrity.
Pride and integrity. I like it.
You have those two things, you should be a pretty good drywaller, man. And really anything, whether it's concrete, build my house. I mean, whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah.
A little bit of pride, because pride is not that bad. Too much pride is bad. Pride's not bad. And integrity is very important. Always making sure you're doing the right thing when nobody's looking.
Love this conversation, dude. I love it. So. Jason Griffin, and your company name?
It's just me and Jim, really. Jim's company name is
Jim and Jason's Specialty Wall Works.
Yeah, we just go with our stuff. All our builders know who we are. They just know us by a company name.
Do you have a logo or anything?
No. We don't do that stuff. We're in a small area and we just keep it small. And
good for you.
We've had the same builders for 20 years. So
love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on the Drywall Podcast, the first of 3 badass sculptors, and these are going to be all in a row, and I think they're going to be great, really to me anyways. I mean, whatever, I think they're going to be interesting to our listening community too, people that are taking a joint compound and doing something cool and new with it.
Yeah, and anytime you got questions, you can always ask me on the Facebook there, or a lot of guys are friends on my regular Facebook.
Yeah.
So you can ask me there, man. I'm always willing to share.
Yep, and we appreciate it, man. Cool. Well, I hope you have a excellent rest of your day, and we will definitely be in touch with pictures and some things so we can do promos and stuff. But thanks for talking with us today, man.
For sure, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll talk soon, bud.
All right, man.
All right,
thanks. Bye.
Special thanks to Jason Griffin for being on the Drywall podcast today. You can find some of Jason's artwork on the Facebook page, Jason Griffin Artworks. That's Artworks with an X. Jason is the first of 3 drywall sculpture artists that we're going to have on the show. I'm very excited about. You can catch the Drywall podcast every Friday on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and also YouTube. Look for us. The Drywall podcast was brought to you today exclusively by Fresco Harmony. Fresco Harmony is the world's first color system for joint compound. Fresco Harmony's been around since 2004, and it's pretty cool stuff. If you'd like information about that, about the Drywall podcast, or anything, you can email me at info@frescoharmony.com. Thank you very much for joining the Drywall podcast today. I appreciate it from the deepest levels of my heart and soul. And remember, keep drywalling.